Hi, good afternoon. Welcome back to Mike Makes It. We're on a cluttered bench as usual. Little job's just come in. Let me show you what I've got to do. Open the box and you'll see there's a number of these in here. They're plasma cut, 2mm thick steel plates. Not very interesting to look at, you might say. Currently not. But what I've got to do to them is put a bend across here, approximately there, straight away across, 90 degrees to the edge. Same here, 90 degree all the way across. But this smiley face is in fact a hand holder. Basically, I'm going to fold across here, turn that lip up, and this whole device, once it's folded, I should be able to lift up by that handle. So that's the plan. Got 10 of those to make. Got drill holes in for magnets so they can attach to the machine they need to go on. Basically, they're holder envelopes up that are produced on a machine. So as the envelopes are filled, the flaps are glued down. The envelopes will arrange themselves on a powered conveyor, and all this does is stop the envelope from falling over. So nice and simple. 4 holes need to be put into there. And what they're for is for magnets, so it'll hold it down to a movable conveyor belt basically. So that's the plan. Now I have built in the past, you may have seen off a video, a bending jig that goes into a vise. Now clearly this isn't going to bend that, so I've had a bit of an upgrade, and that's over here. It's too heavy for me to lift at the moment on the bench. It's 35 kilograms. Direct from eBay. I'll put all the links in the description as always. There you go. Let's see if we can drag a few of the bits of packaging out. I think you're sort of getting the idea. That's going to go into what's under that bag. That's a 20-ton press. And this is capable. This will go in the press. The press will push down on that. You'll see it a lot more clearer once I've unpacked it, got up on the bench. But basically this will bend that metal. It's capable of bending 400mm wide, 6mm thick steel in one go. So that being 2mm, and it's only about 250mm wide, this shouldn't have a problem. It's got 4 different, well, tell a lie, I'll count in the front there. There's a number of fingers at the bottom which will actually press into the steel to bend it. Now I specified for the one that has multiple fingers of different widths. They vary from 25mm up to 100mm. I think, just looking at it now, it looks like 150mm. The widest 150mm, the narrowest is 25mm. And you can use any combination of those, so 25 up to the full 400mm. So that letterbox flap you saw cut was just over 100mm, so I should be using one of those directly into that. But we'll get it out of the box, get it up on the bench, and you can see exactly what I want to show you really. So this was around £400 delivered, 400mm wide. As I say, that suits that particular press. There are 2 narrower, or there's 1 narrow version and 1 wider version available, but I picked this obviously to suit the 20-ton press I have. But Mike, stop talking, we'll get it on the bench, you can see what I'm talking about. 35 kilograms, I can vouch for that. That's heavy devil. It looks well packaged. It's come from Sheffield. It's not like factory produced item. It's more guys making them in his own workshop. Nothing wrong with that at all, because there's generally, what I've seen of it, very good feedback. I'll need to have a little look over, make sure everything's hunky-dory, but so far, first impressions, very, very good. Have a closer look here. These are the fingers I'm on about with different sizes. So you can stipulate just one finger the same length, one length, not in sections, but I don't want that. I want to be able to bend smaller, narrower pieces of metal, so that's why I stipulated that. There's a few little bits and pieces that come with it. This was an extra, at extra cost. This was about £50 more, 10mm radius bending jig. So a little bit cockeyed on one end there. This looks as if it's hand finished. That looks a better end. Basically, that'll fit in the place of the fingers and will give you a radius bend rather than a sharp bend. This will give you a nice radius bend. You can make one of them yourself fairly easily. I chose not to, so whatever you need to do on that. And there's a bag of bits over on my messy bench here. This has come with it and a book of words. So what I'll do, I'll unpack this, get the wood off it, and we'll have a little better look. But as I say, somebody's took the time in getting it here in one piece, and by the looks of it, that's what's happened. It's all in one piece. I'm very, very happy about that. I did wonder, boxes get thrown around in the backs of lorries and etc, etc, but yeah, looking good. Right, get a screwdriver, we'll get this we'll get it unpacked for you, and we'll just see what's what. And there we go, unpackaged and in one piece. Spin it around, looks very much the same at the back as it does at the front. Nice strengthening webs been put in there. This is all on bearings, so linear bearings in both sides. This is fully adjustable to take the metal you're actually producing or wanting to bend. The blades will move in left to right. Fingers, like I say, are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers. We just grab a tape measure. Without wishing to repeat the sizes I've got, the smallest is 25. Then we've got 100. 150, and the last one's going to be, the other two on the end are going to be 75 and 50. So you got a full complement. Obviously you can go 75, you can put 25 to it, so you got 100 and two others making 200 mil. Or you work out the configuration yourself, I'm sure you can. So for that letterbox flap I'm going to be bending, I'd pick the 100 mil. That'll fit in the flap in one go, and Bob's your uncle. So what I'll do now, I'm going to learn a little bit more about it, have a little practice on some scrap bits of metal, and I'll see if we can get those envelope holders bent up, just see how good this press is. But yeah, so far, thumbs up. Well, there it is in the Sealy, I believe it's 20-ton press. I'm used to the press extensively. Like with tools, you use them when you need them. So it's not something I use every day, but I've got it in the workshop and it does get used. And I think I should be using it more now I've got the bench press. However, on closer inspection here, I don't know if you can get into that, but here and there, so not sure if you can see that. Yeah, you can just about see that, hopefully. There's some scores on the shaft. So I've actuated this, pushed the blade down about twice, and I noticed that on the second time of the device coming up. So it may have been there to start with. If it had been round the back, I wouldn't have seen it. So I've got to investigate that. I don't know if there's any swarf on the linear bearing or stuck in the linear bearing. So I've got to pop the caps off here, pull this assembly out, take the springs out, have a look at the rods and the linear bearing. So that's a bit of a pain for something that's brand new, cost best part of a monkey. Right, I'm going to let the pressure off, and you'll see this side is slightly slower to come up. It'll get to about here, then it pauses, then it jumps up. So whether that's to do with the bind, just letting that out slowly. Just seems to get stuck on the left hand side for some reason. Right, I'm going to go take it to bits, have a look. If there's nothing major, next time you'll see me, we'll come back and we'll be bending metal. If it's more of a major issue, then I shall show you what I found. Okay, I've cleaned the shafts up. I think that is where the linear bearings were rolling. So whether there was an adjustment set up in the factory and that's put a mark on the bores, or whether I'm just mistaken and it's not the linear bearings that have caused that problem. But I polished them up, both sides, because both sides had marks on it. Could have been machine damage when the shafts were being made, not sure. I'll go for the linear bearings, but I've cleaned them up, so if we get it to come back, then we got an issue with the bearings by the looks of it. One other problem, these bolts, there's 4 12mm bolts that go there. That's so you can make adjustments to these plates depending on how thick the metal is that you bend in. They'll slide in and out. With the bolts as they come, they sort of got it like a serrated, a knurled finish on them. So great if you're fitting them into metal, you can get a little bit of a purchase on them, a little bit of a grip. But when they're in here, they got to be recessed into this hole here. Well, they don't actually fit. The only way you're going to get them to fit is if you not hammer them in necessarily, but you really got to put a bit of force on them, get them down in the hole there. That's picking up on the thread now, but it's very difficult once they're down further to slide this forward. Now see, this bolted all the way down and I can't slide this forward, and when I was undoing the bolt, as I rotated it, this would move in and out. So what I've had to do on the lathe, let's take it over to the lathe. I've just put a alley bar in there, 10.5mm hole, 12mm tap. So what I'm doing now, I'm putting the bolts in the lathe and just taking off the merest smidgen off the top. Really, I'm removing the knurl. I've got 4 bolts to do. One's done, and if you see now, it does move in and out quite smoothly. I know it's upside down, but you get the gist. It moves up and down the slot. So you should be able to loosen them and move what I'm calling the blade, but it's adjuster bar, depending on the thickness of the metal you're bending, like I said earlier. But basically, you'll be able to loosen them, move this to desired position easily, then you can tighten them up without everything going out of position. So I'm doing that now, 3 more to go. The finish of these is okay. The I'm calling them adjuster plates. Forgive me if somebody else calls them something else. But they've got very sharp edges where you needn't have sharp edges, like here along that corner. If I ran my finger across there, that would cut me. Likewise along the edges, so just needs a little bit of finishing. So I'm running a deburring tool around all the edges just to take that sharpness off. It's like a machine finished edge on there. It's not been finished, so that's what I'm planning on doing. You don't have to do it, but it just feels nicer, and you've got less chance of cutting your fingers on it, frankly, and I don't want to be cutting my fingers. So right, I'm going to put all that back together after I've done the other 3 bolts. Hopefully this will run okay. I'll run this up and down without the springs, and it goes up fairly smoothly, although the bearings are quite noisy, which I'm surprised about. But it's not an internal combustion engine. We're not going 1,000 revs a second. It's slow actuation, so I think we'll probably be good. So let me finish those bolts. I'll put it back together, and you'll come back to me when hopefully I'm eventually going to be bending some of these plates I showed you a little bit earlier in the video. That's the jig all back together. I'll run over what I've done to it to what I think has made it a little bit better at the end of the video. But let's get on with bending the metal. These are the sheets I've showed you earlier. I've had them plasma cut. Can't do that at the moment. So they were sent out, the 2mm steel. And what I need to do before I put them over there and start bending them is bend this like letterbox or flap. It's going to turn out to be a handle. Now the best styly. There's one I prepared earlier. That's part bent over, as you can see. And the finished ones should look like that. They want a little bit of cleaning up, but the idea is, and you'll understand clearer when we put it over on the bench press, that's going to be a hand grip. So it might be making more sense now. But it's a few stages to do this, and that final lip is bent over on the press. These different styles here are belted with a big lump hammer. In a technical manner, naturally, in the vise. So what I'll do, I'll set up for that. You watch me do that quickly. Then at last, we'll get to use this in that. Alright, here you go. A couple of scrap bits of metal with a base here to stop the metal dropping all the way through. That sets in as a preset distance, so I'm always bending the same amount of metal over. So just nip that up. Got a couple of locking bolts on the plates as well. Obviously the vise is holding it together largely, but when I come to turn this over, as you'll see in a minute, I need the plate to stay where it is. But just nip those up. Right, this is where you're going to hear a few bangs, so get ready for that. Does sound like an old church bell, but it's the best way I found of doing this. I'm sure there's better ways. Just loosen the vise, turn that round, like so. I'll flatten that off the best I can. Now I've got to lift the metal out of the clamps a little bit, just to give it a bit more of a bend over, otherwise I'm not going to be able to shift it in the press. So, loosen them. Put a spacer in there. This just happens to be the right setting, so to speak. Or it seems to give the best results. So pop that in there, tighten this up again. Not really going to go anywhere, I don't think, but it'll move on you if you're not careful, so don't want that to happen. Also I found, before I go belting it, if I put that at the back, it helps keep the metal straight. Doesn't go off much, but again, you got a lump hammer on the metal, it sort of may move on you. So just for a couple of seconds this takes, I think it's worth it. All I got to do is flatten that down as far as I can take it, then it's over to the big bench press. So here we go. Well, that's as far as I can go now here in the vise. What I need to do is take this metal out. I've got another 9 of these to do, so I'll crack on and finish those, get them to the stage we can put them in the bench press. get them in the press, squash them flat like I need to. Then at last we can get on to the bender attachment that the video is all about. Right, just got to bend that flap down now on here. Nothing too technical about that. I've got it well braced underneath. There's a nice chunk of steel on there. And I'm using, I think it's 2 12mm plates on the top. So there shouldn't be a lot of flex. Excuse me while I just do that. There we go. So yeah, just apply a bit of pressure, a bit of me 20-ton pressure here. And we should see that move. Just want to get it in the right position. Just trying to get the piston actually over the piece of metal I'm trying to bend, so it'll make more sense and it'll work properly. Right, yeah, happy with that. I'll just keep going until the 2 bits touch. It ain't really a lot of pressure. I don't know what we're going to go up to. I'm just looking at the gauge. Now we're putting a little bit of force on it. It's only about 3 ton. That seems to have squashed it pretty much all the way over the length, which is what I'm after. So let's just release that. That's the kind of thing I'm looking for. Full closure across that flap. It's not going to go flat. I didn't really want it to go flat. It gives a little bit better hand grip there. But I just wanted to close that edge up. So I think I've got another 8 to do now, so I'll crack on and do them. Alright, there you go. We've got the press brake attachment in the 20-ton hydraulic press, ready to go. If you look around the back, I've made an additional guide here, basically for a straight edge. So if I grab hold of a sheet of steel, here we go. Basically it's a depth stop. So I can slide that in, square it up on that. And you know you're going to get it bending in the same position every time. One thing you have got to mind is you don't overbend it. Now with the gauge, or with the press brake, came with some little gauges like this, if you can see. 45, 90 degrees, and there's another one there, 60, 90 and 30. So as you bend in the steel, you put this underneath and you get a rough idea of where you are. It's not precise because with steel, as you know, if you bend it, when you release that pressure, it'll straighten out a little bit. So you kind of got to overbend it, but it's sort of working. I've done one, so we'll put this in. You can see me bend this side. Now, one thing I will point out on these, I've got a 205mm bend from the end and a 90mm from this end. Now, in this particular application, I've got to do the small bend first. If I do the big bend, when you do the second bend, it won't actually go, won't fit the press brake. So just be conscious of that. If you are bending some metal up yourself, make sure it fits. Do a trial run. Otherwise, do this one first, and literally it's written off. I did try with a bit of piano wire just to make sure I was right. So yeah, do the small bend, then the big bend, and everything's hunky-dory. So we'll load this in, I'll bend the first one and you can watch what happens. Rightio, here we go. So as I say, you put this in, set it square to the backstop, and apply pressure. Got my little gauge here so I can check it for 90 degrees. So I found, get it to the angle you want, then just a tad more. I have also overbent it in the past, so you've got to go a little bit steady with it. You can straighten it up a tad though, so it's not that horrible. Quite happy with that. Could have never done that without the press brake here. So I got another 8 of these to bend up, then we can put this bend in. So I'll do these off camera and I'll come back when we're doing the slightly more difficult one. Right, okay, I've simply turned that round, I've readjusted the backstop, and should be just a case of, here we go again 9 times. I've got the little gauge that came with it, so I'm just over pressing it according to the gauge so the metal can spring back and pretty much give us the angle I want. And it pretty much is working out okay. I can tweak the angle a tad in the vise because it's only 2mm steel. A little bit more. Right, reckon that's about right. Excuse me for getting in the way. There you go. So that's working nicely. I think I said earlier this will do 6mm thick steel for the length of the width of the machine, if you like. I believe it's 4mm. Still very, very good. 400mm, 4mm steel. More than adequate for what I want. I'll double check the spec and I'll put that in the comments, so you can read up by that by all means, and of course I'm going to leave the links. But we're going to bend a few more of these up. Now, it's dead easy. All you got to do, chuck your metal in gently on the backstop, right way up, have it central on the blades here, and away you go. Certainly makes life a lot easier. Life would be a lot easier if I had a hydraulic pump on here rather than manually pumping away here with the handle. Turn a switch, away it goes, hydraulic pump comes into action, and hopefully I'd be able to fine tune the pressure I'm putting on these metal plates. I'm pretty sure I could. Need a couple of valves, a couple of taps, etc. And of course the main hydraulic pump and line itself, which I think is a little bit expensive. I've not really looked into that to see what I need, but yeah, you're talking a few £100 on that one. Project I'd like to do, so maybe you'll see that in the future, but for now it's the old manual way of doing it. But it works. If I had to make hundreds of these, it'd be different, but I've only got to do 10 in total, so I can manage. Well, that's the Cyclops Design press brake put through its paces. Seemed to have worked really, really well. Quite happy with it. The actual price is about £369 delivered off from eBay. I went for the 400mm wide device. That they do 2 other sizes, but the 400mm fitted my Sealy 20-ton press just right. So that's all good news. Recap a couple of points I want to raise with the one I had. These shafts had some damage from the linear bearings by the looks of it. Don't know how that happened, but we took it all to bits, cleaned it up, put it back together, not getting a repeat of that. So whether it got damaged in transit or when it's been assembled, don't know. But we're gone now. That's all sorted. When you drop the head down, originally I noticed you had about a 3mm gap on one side compared to the other side. Now I wasn't very happy with that, but I thought maybe turning the head round, you got nothing to lose, turn the head round, and yeah, Bob's your uncle, we had a paper thickness difference then. So whatever happened when it was made, certainly how it's assembled now is fine. Paper thickness all the way across, more than acceptable to me as far as I'm concerned. Just in case the springs were catching on the shafts, what I did, 28mm bit of copper pipe is actually perfect for fitting over this shaft, and it fits on the inside diameter of the spring very, very well, and that'll keep the spring central. So just in case that decided to move or deflect into the shaft, but it can't go anywhere now. Likewise on the other side, of course. Showed you these. You get a few bits and pieces and jigs and things that come with it. Allen keys, angle plates, which is handy. Showed you those again earlier. If we look around the back here, these rods come with it. One on each side. That's behind the machine. So as you push your work through, these devices were supplied. A bit of plate, couple of holes, and nut and bolt. So basically you'd adjust the position of these, fine tune it with the bolt to act as a backstop for the piece of metal you're putting in. One on each side you were supplied to, but they did move a little bit. When you did the Allen key up, the grub screw, it would deflect a little bit and you had to do it again and again just to get it square. Now with this piece of extrusion and a couple of old machine knobs in the top, I'm very happy with how you can adjust the backstop on there, lock it up. When you turn that, it don't move. When you lock one, lock the other side, no movement. Very easy just to do a slight adjustment, lock it up again. And that's what I've used for the project I've done today, without fault, not a problem at all. So very happy how that's gone. But all in all, apart from those couple of little things, I'm very happy to overcome those, the scores on the bores, etc. Very happy with the design and the functionality of the machine. I'll put all the links in the description, so if you want to go and have a look on eBay and maybe get one, please feel free. Hopefully the videos give you a little bit of an insight to the machine, and I also hope you've enjoyed it.